Welcome back to the wonderful world of math videos. Chapter 1, Lesson 14 is converting rational numbers to decimals using long division. We actually talked about that yesterday too a little bit. Today we're going to talk about some other kind of decimals that you can get. Repeating decimals. I'm sure you've heard of those before. It's a decimal in which one or more digits repeat infinitely. For example, 0.33333, and it keeps going. We would say that's 0.3 with a bar over it. 5.27272727, we could write that as 5.27 with the bar over the 2 and the 7. So whatever numbers repeat, that's where the bar goes over. So if you take your calculator out, we can change fractions into decimals using your calculator. And we're just going to explore what these values are of these fractions. Some of these you might know. Like 1/2 is 0.5. And a third is 0.33333, so that's 0.3 repeating. 1/4 is a quarter, which is 0.25. 1/5 is 0.2. 1/6 is 0.16666. So only the 6 repeats in this case. So I'm only putting the repeating bar over the 6. 1/7 is a long one. 0.142857, and then it says 142857. So this whole thing repeats in that case. 1/8 is 0.125. 1/9 is 0.1 repeating. 1/10 is 0.1. And 1/11 is 0.09090909. So if you can see, we have some very common fractions in the decimals that they're equivalent to. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take those fractions, we're going to organize them in the chart below by whether they end or they repeat. So my terminating decimals, these ones end, like 1/2 and 1/4 and 1/5, 1/8, and 1/10 are all terminating decimals because the decimal ends, doesn't keep going. The repeaters that I have, 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, 1/6 is 0.16 repeating, 1/7 is 0.142857 repeating, 1/9 is 0.1 repeating, and 1/11 is 0.09 repeating. So the next question says, what do you notice about these numbers? What do they have in common? Well, if you look at the denominators for the terminating decimals, they all have factors of 2. So 4, 1/4, the denominator 4 is really 2 times 2. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. Or they have factors of 5. So each denominator over here has only the factors of 2 and or 5. You don't need both. But they have no other factors in their denominators place. On the other side, you see most of them look odd numbers. So each denominator over here contains at least one factor other than 2 or 5. So like 1/6 contains a factor of 2, but it also has a factor of 3. So that's what makes it repeating. Just that one factor that's not a 2 or a 5 will change that whole decimal into a repeating decimal. On the next page, we're going to practice a couple of these. So the top number goes inside the box. You know that this fraction is less than 1 whole, so if you divide it, you should get a decimal that's less than 1 whole. I'm going to add a few zeros here, bring the decimal straight up, and now I divide 9 into 4, that's nothing. 9 into 40, that's 4. I multiply, it gives me 36. Subtract is 4. And automatically I notice that this is going to keep going. So the answer, 4/9, is equal to 0.4 repeating. Five and 4/11, I'm going to change the 4/11 into the decimal, and then I'll worry about that 5 in front of the decimal when I'm done. So 11 divided into 4, bring the decimal straight up. And divide. 11 into 40 is 3, that gives me 33. I subtract, I get a 7, bring the 0 down. Now that's 6. 6 times 11 is 66. And I notice now it starts repeating right there. So 4/11 is 0.36 repeating, but I have the 5 out in front, so it's 5.36 repeating. Don't forget about the whole number. Letter C, 5 goes inside the box. Add a couple zeros, bring it up. 6 into 5 is nothing. 6 into 50 is 8. 8 times 6 is 48. Knowing your math facts here will be very advantageous. 6 into 20 is 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. And now I notice it's going to start repeating. But only the 3 repeats here, not the 8. So I only put the bar over the 3. And it's a negative number to start, so make sure that you put the negative out in front of the decimal. So negative 0.83 with only the 3 repeating. We have a couple of word problems down here. Eric and 4 of his friends are taking a trip across the New York State Thruway. They decide to split the cost of the tolls equally. The total cost is $8. How much will each person have to pay? Well, this is kind of a trick question. Some people would say, oh, there are 4 people, but it's Eric and 4 of his friends, which means there are 5 people total who are traveling in the car. And they're sharing the cost of $8. So 5 people divided into the $8. $5 into 30 is 6, which works out to be even. So $1.60 each is how much each person has to pay for tolls. The second part, just before leaving the trip, 2 of his friends have emergencies, cannot go. What is this person's share of the $8 now? I'd like you to try that one, bring it to class. There's less people now, so the cost should be more. Keep that in mind.